with the writer themselves. Now, I actually think that there's probably a staged approach to doing all of this, because probably by now you're like, there's no way I would ever have time to learn all of these and explore all of these and have a grassroots effort. You're out of your mind. So I think that you just have to start simple. And the first thing to do is just listen. Find out what it is that people that you are documenting for are talking about. You can use RSS feeds. You can use Google Alerts. You can use search.twitter.com. Technorati is another site that kind of does an aggregation of blogs. And you can actually find out what is it that people are talking about and where are these conversations going on. Darren Barefoot is a social media marketing person who used to be a technical writer, and he has a book where he says that technical writers are actually excellent blog monitors and could easily handle multiple notifications. And this is exactly where we might be really good, is listening. If as a technical writer you're already kind of maintaining a blog and an online presence, you may just start, commenting on others' blogs, but that's still a step ahead. What you first want to do is listen. And I don't even mean just listen on online communities. I also mean go to your tech support representative, get a phone splitter, and sit down and listen to their calls for a day. That's a very interesting experiment in the idea of conversation. And you can also find conversations, if your product is actually sold on a website, or like Amazon, you can actually read the reviews and the review comments, and that's another way to listen to what people are talking about your product. Now, the next stage is to actually start participating, and that's where I kind of jumped ahead, but I want to say that you can actually start blogging, you can start commenting on blogs, but a really good measure, and this I get from the book called Groundswell, a really good measure of whether you'll stick with blogging is to see if you can write five entries. If you can't write 5 entries and still feel energized after that, you're probably not going to keep up with blogging. I think that another good starting point is blogging internally, where at least you know your blog has a limited audience, and by internally, I mean look on your company for what might be a blog offering that's only going to be read behind the firewall. You might also find a wiki and contribute to it, and that's what I have kind of been doing, is just practicing. Learn how you can be a contributor, and start with the small tasks, such as just editing. Start with just tagging the content. Start with these small ways of participating. You might even just start by offering a survey on your help system, or if your online help system doesn't already have a link so that people can write feedback, add that in. You might start on a site like Delicious and start tagging content that's related to your product. And you may also do what I was talking about earlier about joining a forum where your customers are talking, and you can also have, on some forums and boards, you can have one-on-one messaging back and forth with someone. If you actually, because a lot of times I would feel intimidated, but if I could talk to somebody one-on-one about a particular issue they were working on, I may be able to help. Now, another stage that's kind of in between this participate stage and this third stage that I'll talk about next is to generate buzz, but I don't actually think that most technical writing departments have to generate buzz, and I don't think, unless you're the lone writer and you're kind of all of those departments in one, I don't think you need to add in this stage of generating buzz. But the third is, and this is, pretty much what I would consider to be third and final, this is the last stage. Lead by offering a platform, and this is the stage where you would actually, create a wiki, offer a blogging platform, and a great example is sunfeedroom.sun.com, and that's actually a platform where all user-generated content can be sent to, and where people can talk about that user-generated content. So, of course, everyone in the audience is like, oh my gosh, how much time is this going to require? And there's a woman in the nonprofit sector, her name is Beth Cantor, and she actually has a great blog post about how much time do these things take. So if you break it down into the 3 ideas of listen, participate, share content, and the whole idea of building a platform, you actually only need to spend about 5 hours a week to listen. But still, that's an hour a day. That is a lot of time. The next stage would be participate, and again, that's 5 hours a week to spend an hour a day commenting on blogs, finding a way to get into conversations, and finding out where those conversations are going. Now, if you're going to actually start sharing the content on blogging or like uploading screencasts and that kind of thing, it's actually going to be about 15 hours a week. That's a pretty decent time commitment. And then for actually building a platform, that is going to be, literally like more than 20 hours a week, probably, and upwards from that. So it is kind of, you do have to understand what you're getting into. And the other thing is, when you add up listen, participate, sharing and building a platform, when you add all those up, it is certainly enough hours to be someone's full-time job. So I don't think that, I think that you need to experiment and explore and start at the lower levels of listening. And if the phased approach is that you never need to provide a platform, that's fine. And the other thing you need to understand is you probably have to stick with this for about 3 to 6 months before you would actually see, change. And that's when you could actually start seeing whether or not a strategy like this is working. So you might want to align your goals with internal departments. And by this I mean that if you talk to many technical writers, they tend to know whether they tend to align in the idea of a pre-sales department where the documentation is what sells this product and it helps people understand the concepts about why they want to buy it. But you may be closer to someone in customer support where the whole goal of the documentation is to get people out of trouble when they get into it and to reduce the number of support calls. So if you determine which one you can align with, then that helps you understand what it is that you are trying to have as your goals, and those would be your measurements. Now, there's plenty of things you can measure. You can measure traffic, just like you would on any user assistance system. You can measure how many subscriptions you have, and subscribers are kind of valuable because they actually measure return visits, and so they may indicate more loyalty than just a random person hitting your website. Another one to measure is called inbound hot links, and that's how often do other bloggers or websites link to your blog. Another one is the idea of where do you rank in search position, what keywords matter for your company brand, and what keywords matter for the product's brand. Another one is, and so that's just kind of looking at your search ranking. That's a good way to tell how effective this is. The number and frequency of comments or the number of interactions is also a good way to measure how effective this strategy is. And I would also, another case study that I've seen, and I don't know quite how it necessarily translates to TechCom, but if you know that your TechCom department tends to align with public relations, and they can put pricing on how much a certain, a press release might generate leads, you may want to be able, you may try to be able to see how much lead generation you can get from some of your social techniques too. Now, the next one is actually looking at kind of a case study of pulling all these together, pulling in these techniques, pulling in a wiki, pulling in the collaborative authoring. What can happen if you compress all of this conversation community into a single event? And so what we did last year in August of 2008 is we actually did what's called a book sprint. And a book sprint is basically trying to do collaborative authoring in person with a collaborative authoring tool like a wiki. And so when I say that it combines a scaffolding pattern with a barn raising pattern, those are both patterns for wikis that Stuart Mayer has out on his website. And the scaffolding pattern means that we did a lot of planning ahead of time, and we definitely made sure that we had a really solid outline in place, that we had all of the participants knew the audience we were writing to, and that we even had a style guide that we had agreed. And so that's kind of this idea of scaffolding pattern. Well, the barn raising pattern is basically similar to how in rural communities they will build a barn in a day. We are actually building this book content in a day. And so that's why it's called 0 to Book in 5 days. And I tell you, that's a little bit of, not quite accurate, because the planning that goes into a book sprint